Hello and welcome to AAA Wargaming. This is the first of 5 battle reports that's after recently returning from the Art of War 5, which is held down in Bristol. So, hugely popular tournament and probably one of the biggest in the UK. This time we had about 58 players come down. It's quite useful. It's off Bristol, fantastic gaming day over 2 days. We played 5 games, hosted by Scabfat and PTG. So Ryan and Dan. It's a hugely popular event, as I've said, and it's great fun. We even had people as far away from Denmark fly over. Famous, one of the one of the presenters for Our Time podcast, Henry P. Miller, came over, and it was a beauty to see his Vampire Counts army. Um, it was one of the things that went up for one of the painting awards, and that's one of the big things about Art of War. It's not just publicises the gaming aspects, but it does quite a bit for painting it. It always has the War of Art competitions, so like best unit, best model, best army, etc. So there's a lot of prizes. So it's always quite a big and fun thing to see and see what everyone has produced. But on to the first game. Firstly, my army that I took. So the objectives were a bit funny, but I think I hadn't really had time to plan in my head. I know I tried a different list beforehand, and I possibly should have taken that in hindsight. But I thought that it would be worth. Sorry, I had to pause there for a second to sneeze. Sorry, I thought I'll just take roughly what I took to Cardiff last time. I know how the army plays, and I also wanted to see how the new Druidism changes it up and see how it matches. And it just meant that at least I knew the army itself. I knew how things reacted. I knew how I wanted to play. So, starting from the top, I took a Druid, Dragon, Wizard, Master, and Druidism with Sylvan Longbow and Watcher's Way. So that's the poison 4 shots one, and actually that proved quite useful throughout the tournament. I think I've got Magical Heirloom for that Forest spell for the Blade Dancers, and Lightning Pamrosis, just so I can take 2 shooting ones, 2 disrupting in combat, and then 2 heals if I really want to. I then took Avatar of Nature. He is a beast. Um, he's slow on movement and stuff like that, but he's a really, really good anvil, and that's I think is important. Chieftain BSB, and I managed to get in Spears and Hunter's Honor. My logic here is you can cast in 20 routes -2 to the offensive skill of your opponent, and then you're potentially hitting on 5s, the Blade Dancers, because they're defensive 6, and then you've got because you're already hitting on 5s, and then the Hunter's Honor distracting means you're hitting on 6+, and then even then you can have the benefit of Forest Embrace powerful one and make people reroll 6s, so that's always good. Potion of Strength is there just because I think it's quite useful to defeat monsters and cowboys. Yeah, and he goes in the Blade Dancers to give them Swiss Stride, and it's just a good anchor to my battle line that's quite mobile. I then got my 23 Dryads, an 8 Dryad Scoring Dart, 2 units of 5 Heath Hunters for chaff and a bit of shooting, and then 5 Heath Riders for that third scoring unit, just that dart that goes in there. I then got 13 Blade Dancers with another Aether Icon, so a couple with the BSB, and then natural MR1, that's MR3, which I think is quite useful. I think it's a minimum at the moment, with all the Pyro coming around at the moment. Lastly is with the Wild Huntsman there, I like this really unit a lot. I always take Sylvan Lance at the moment just because I haven't got any strength buffs, so I think that's something I must take. I wouldn't take Sylvan Blades without a strength buff, and then just having the Flaming Standard just so I don't have that like a wretched one unit. At least I can wreck them, or a troll unit that I just can't deal with. So that's that, and then 2 units of Pathfinders, one of 10 and one of 9, because I just find they're really, really quite good. And click and delete. I'm still unsure whether 2 and 19 is too much for this type of list, and maybe I should go for a more combaty one. But it's just, again, I had the models painted. I didn't have a lot of time to do lots more stuff, especially as I'm trying to keep focusing on this winter army, although I haven't painted any for a couple of weeks, so I'll probably do a bit after this episode. But yeah, no, that's kind of where I want to be. So yeah, that was my logic. It's quite mobile. It's got a few punchy threats and some counter charges. The only thing I would say about this list, I think, afterwards is, in that note, I'll hold that thought. So what I'll do after this is I'll probably have a 6th video where I review the list, much like I did after Tech back in 2021 in November, and that will probably feature about how I'm thinking of my list selects. So on to the game. So this is actually battle report number 34 and video number 37. I did a bit of working out because I thought I'd missed off that. The deployment type was refuse flank. Our secondary objective was special, which I'll go through, and I was paired up against Sam Freestone, his Infernal Dwarfs. And as you'll see with his list, my first thought was, well, I think I put WTF on our sort of ninth age WhatsApp group for Spiky Club because I was just like, how do I deal with this? What, any Infernal Dwarfs, any keys? And I think I got back mostly it was just try not to burn. So that was one of the key bits of advice. I was like, cheers, don't burn. Cool, happy days. Right, so onwards that. The map was obviously not official, but in terms of scenario, so this was it. So it was bring your own goblin to work day, and you can see there's quite a bit of theme here. You can see that Scabfat has been designing it, so it was quite cool. So firstly, it's refuse flank, and then at the end of step 7 deployment phase, so after moving your vanguard units, and before rolling for first turn, both players choose a unit of their own, starting with the player that finished deployment, and the unit cannot be a single model unit, and it gains Goblet Orphan. So what happens then at the start of your charge phase, if you've got that specific unit that's chosen as Goblin Unit for Orphan within 12 inches of one of your units, could be multiple units, they take a maximized discipline test with the normal discipline rules are found. So if you put a spell on them, so like Whispers, or you have a BSB or General's Leadership, it all counts. But if they fail, you get a point marker. So it's like Frenzy check, but you don't have to go charging into the OODA loop. So you've got lots of things you can think about here. Do you use one of your fast cavalry units and then just run them round or send them in range and stuff like that? So it's quite a thought process behind you. So it's also like you get benefits for risking units and stuff like that. So it's quite cool. And I heard quite a few funny stories about this. So this is his list. He's got probably the worst magic setup that I could find for my army. So a Wizard Master on Alchemy with Rod of Battle to mitigate all my high defensive skill, and then another Prophet on Adept with Pyromancy in the Book of Arcane Mastery. So lots of Lash and Silver Spike and then lots of Pyromancy coming at me. I mean, I'm just like, great. So that it starts bad. It doesn't get any better, I'll promise you. So then he's got Visio with BSB, pretty standard. And he's got 24 Citadel Guard with Flintlock Axe and Standard Bearer Flaming Standard. Great. So Strength 5 with the Flaming Standard. So nope, there's going to be no Healing Waters taken this game. He's then got 22 Warriors with the Blunderbuss, and classic thing, and you can see with the Infernal Bastion coming what's going to be having there. And then 26 Immortals with great weapons standard, with full command. He's then got a Titan Mortar, 5 Vassal Cavalry, and 2 Kidim Titans, both with Walking Volcano, one with Rocket Battery, one with Naphtha Threat. I mean, like, it's like it was designed against me. But it was very much something I like things. But, like with all ID, there's 2 things that really play into our favour, especially Sylvan. Their shooting and magic is relatively short range. It's 24 inches and below, minus like the Kadim Titan, and which can move and fire, and but it's rocket battery. As long as I keep it away from the Avatar of the Dragon, I'm pretty good. And then it's everything else really short range. So Citadel Guard is 18 inches plus movement. Blunderbuss is still only 21. Sorry, 12 plus 12, no, sorry, 9 plus 12, so 21 inches. And even the Infernal Artillery, the Kadim Mortars, Titan Mortars only 36 inches. I mean, if he wants to put it out in front, that's fine. I will shoot that off with the Pathfinder. So, plan looking at this was, it wasn't the end of the world. The only thing that was against that I think put the thing firmly in his favour and made this at least an orange, if not a red matchup properly, was the deployment. So I'll go back to it for a second. Refuse flank. He's got a small army with 3 big blocks and 2 monsters. It's the perfect deployment to hem me in. If it was fully across the deployment zone, I'd be very much happier to do second deployment, and I can take him on, and I can take up part of his army. And that was it. So that was so my thoughts are, with this now deployment, I'm going to have to use the Blade Dancers to win objective. They're quite mobile, so they can get in and out of trouble. They've got a natural BSB, they're high leadership and stuff like that. And hopefully, between their hard target, soft cover, and just their MR, I can keep them alive. My then plan was to use mobility and range to degrade them. My target priorities were Titan Mortar, followed by the Kadims, and then I was just going to see if I could take out one of the blocks. And I thought the one to pick out was a Citadel Guard. And then I would use my Druidism and range to limit the damage that he could do on me, and just keep him at base while I use the Blade Lancers and possibly the Avatar and the Wild Huntsman to go forward and just take some points off, while the Pathfinders and the Magic can just keep supplementing that. So that was the plan. In spells, you can see I didn't take Stone Skin. I don't find it that useful. I'm not convinced. My army's not designed for it. So maybe lots of armies can use it, but not me, especially like maybe KOE or a big Beast Herds army, or maybe if I had a big unit of Forest Rangers, but nope. So I just took in 20 routes to have a go after shooting and combat, Summer's Growth, and Phantom Youth just to keep some healing and keep me alive a bit longer, and then Forest Embrace and to supplement 20 routes, and Hand of Heaven was my balance spell. So that's how I was thinking about this. The next one on his, he took, it's pretty classic. I mean, Pyroclastic Flow, Flaming Sword, so he's got double that option to give double flaming attacks to his unit that didn't have Flaming Banner. I'm just a little concerned about the Hereditary, which again nullifies my ability to fight. So it was very much I was going to be standing back off this game. I'm not probably going to get as many combat units, I think, but it does mean I've got a lot of magic and shooting that I have to weather all the time, which is a bit of a problem. So then going on to deployment. Right, so here it is. So describe it. So we had the ruins at the back here. We had a hill, a forest, a field, another forest, an impassable, and another hill. And I won the role. So my thought process was I wanted him to play this way. I thought having the impassable here was quite good. To keep him anchored on one flank and make him force him on this side, and then between the hill and the forest, I'm dominating this side with Druidism. So hopefully, if he starts putting his Titan Mortar around here, I can have in 20 routes and Master of Earth going off at it. And then he's got a forest here, and my plan was I was going to put a forest down here to make him think this is where I was coming through, and then deploy my army on the other side and hope that he drops in this gap here, and then I can swing around here. And that's pretty much what happened. The only thing was, which I'll come back to at the end. So he dropped for first, no surprise. So he put the Titan Mortar back here, his Kadim Titan with the rocket battery here, Citadel Guard, his Blunderbuss unit with both mages, his Infernal Warriors with the BSB, and the other Kadim Titan with the flaming thing. And he's got his Vassal Cavalry behind there so they can vanguard out, but also they don't get shot off and stuff like that. My deployment. I was really quite silly on this. I think, yeah. So I was happy with this side. Maybe I should have put the Wild Huntsman over this side, but no. The two units that I screwed up deployment with were these and these because of the objective. I've put them, they're my most immobile units, and I've put them opposite his scoring unit. So what I should have done was have this over here, because also he can grind down the Kadim Titan. I really don't mind about that. I didn't think this one through. And that unit could just be in there. I just push them into that corner and they're far out of the way. And that's the only, absolutely, I think the only mistake I made that game properly. I really do think that was the one thing that I didn't stick to my plan and I didn't think about it. And that's the only thing I would have changed looking back on it. And I don't know why I didn't think that. I need to remember that. I really do like Dryads. I think they're tough. I think they do get you a little bit. I want to play around with how they do, but that was just silly how I didn't think of the objective. Otherwise, I knew what my plan was. Move around on the right. As you can see, most of my forces there. I tried to keep my fluffy stuff away, but I just didn't think that actually I've got far more mobility with my elves, and I could have fixed that Titan and possibly even playing Charge Citadel Guard and his Immortals, and the rest of them just wouldn't have much of a game. But anyway, so moving on. So ID turn one, as you can see, he's moved up, but not too far. He's quite happy. His Kadim, his Titan Mortar's at range really, so he just comes up. And then he starts shooting. So he's not in range for a lot of his stuff, which was part of my plan. I stopped Pyroclastic Flow, and he gets off fireball and kills off two of my blade dancers. That's pretty much it, which I'm pretty happy about. I think he's worried about coming too far around with the Kadim because of the Avatar and the Dragon both there. But yeah, that's the two of them coming off. I think that was magic. So on to my turn. So what do I do? So my plan here is I'm going to swing around. So I want to swing around here. So I want to zone his Kadim Titan. That moves next turn. Oh, sorry, as you can see. Sorry. So my plan is to move them round. I then start moving my Heath Riders into this corner just to keep them away from any scoring. I've moved my Blade Dancers up into the forest just to provide a bit of anchor. And the plan for that is to zoom forward into this gap here because I've identified that he's got multiple units, of which sorry, he had multiple units here, and I'm quite happy because of my Potion of Strength and Wild Huntsman there that if he charges, I've got some good counter charges in terms of the Drides and that. I've got my Dragon out here because I'm quite happy with one Skinning Lash because I can stop the Silver Spike. They're not going to be in range for other stuff, and that thing's not going to be in range either. I'm happy. I brought the Avatar out here, which was possibly a mistake, and that was mainly so I could do a bit of just scare him a bit. I was quite happy if he charged in. That means he's fixed, and there's a bit of a risk there, but he's going through forest terrain, so he's going to lose a few on the way in, and he only has one attack each model. So I was like, yeah, okay, I can do this, and maybe I can buff him in combat and get his high offensives and stuff. I turned the Dryads around, and they're now facing that way because they're going to run back into that corner because I realise I've made a mistake. Because now I've realised I've got both Dryads units with his scoring into this. And otherwise, I'm just keeping my Heath Hunters out of range as much as possible and bring my Pathfinders up. And because the Kadim was here, the target was I would need to start whittling to some of the runes off this Kadim so that the Wild Huntsman could charge in. I'd worked out that I could do it if the Kadim had 3 wounds, but ideally I want 4 wounds on it. On the Kadim before my Wild Huntsman charge in, and then I'll probably kill it. Or I have a higher probability of killing it. In Magic, all I get off was Forest Embrace. Everything else was failed. So he stopped my Fountain of the Youth to bring back a couple of Blade Dancers. No, sorry, that's it. I got off Master of Earth first turn, and I rolled like 10 hits. I got 5 wounds through. So I was thinking, yeah, AP1, 5 wounds on his Kadim. This is going to be awesome. And he saves 4 of them. Rolls 4 5 ups out of 5. And I was like, oh no. So that's it. So there is 1 wound on that guy, and that's the way it goes. Well, that's the way the cookie crumbles. And otherwise, I got Forest Embrace off on the Avatar as well, just to make sure he's multiple to DTs. And that's what stops him moving in. In terms of shooting, this is going into turn, but it does identify he's got a couple of wound markers on the Kadim, so I do get 2 wounds through, or 1 wound. No, 2 wounds through. So I've got 2 wounds on the Kadim, but there was a lot of, no, 1 wound because he rolled a lot of 5 ups. I was like, but it is starting to chip away, so a couple more turns and that Kadim should be there. But in his turn, he does move it around that hill. So his turn. What he does here is he moves his Infernal Dwarfs up so he can start to, his Immortals up. So he's going to force my Avatars to take a Maximize Leadership test next turn. But otherwise, he doesn't want to charge because of the multiple DTs that could wreck his unit. And then it's just a bit dodgy if he gets a bad magic phase. So what he wants to do is, because I'm out of cover now, he's going to throw all the magic and shooting he can at me. I was like, great. And so that's it. Otherwise, he's moved the Kadim round because he wants to force my Wild Huntsman round and away. Or he just wants a bit of cover from the Pathfinders themselves. In Magic, after all the magic and shooting, he does 1 wound. It was amazing. Everything missed. Nothing came through. I saved... Yeah, I think that was after. So none of the Pyro wounded or say got through the armor. So that was a skinning. That was a Silver Spike. No, I stopped Skinning Lash. No, I didn't. I stopped Flaming Swords. Yeah, I just didn't want Flaming Swords to go off on that shooting you, the Blunderbuss unit, because I thought that was a dangerous one. So I let him Skinning Lash go through, but otherwise everything else missed and stuff like that. So tick VG for the Avatar. Very good. Otherwise, he shot one of these off with the rocket battery on the Kadim. So he's going to start trying to whittle down the Wild Huntsman. But I was like, if he's doing 1 or 2 a turn, I can keep going back 1 or 2, and we'll just have a stalemate over here. And I'm pretty happy with that points exchange. My turn 2. So here comes the plan. So I've distracted him with the Avatar, and now I've moved back. But again, I've realised that he's just going to move his Immortals forward because he's not really bothered by that. And now I've got 2 scoring units there. And to enact my plan, I've got to move my Blade Dancer BSB away. So it's going to be leadership 9 with maximise. But otherwise, I've forced the Blade Dancer into that gap. So he's going to have, I think he's going to have 2 this turn. And then I can charge. He's gonna he's gonna have 1 turn of me, but I know what I'm stopping. I'm stopping Pyroclastic Flow, and I'm like, yeah, great. The rest of it, go for it. They're probably, because of the hard target, I can get Forest Embrace off, or Entwining Roots, something like that from here, and it can minimise it quite well. Failed measure. Oh, sorry, no, maybe it was this turn that I got Master of Earth off on that. But either way, so no, it was last turn. Either way, otherwise I move my avatar back because I'm happy with him coming round. He can't charge really. It's a double 6 or something like that. I've kept my Dryads there to keep him dim, and otherwise my shooting is going on to things. But I'm changed tack, so I start picking off some of the Citadel Guard, and that's really what I want to win now. They're my targets. So my aim is now keep throwing magic and stuff like this to mitigate this and hopefully kill it. Keep throwing keep them preoccupied with that whilst taking objective points off, and then slam in and try and kill this sort of stuff. And hopefully I can stop him doing as much damage as possible whilst also taking the objective and getting enough points so that I can win a 12-8, something like that. 12-8. Even if I lose 11-9, I start losing a lot of stuff, or maybe a 13-7. So that's the plan here. In Magic, nothing gets off. I'm pretty sure either it's Master of Earth only or nothing else. So I get no protection. I don't get those 2 Blade Dancers back. Everything fails, and I really was rolling like 3 or 4 dice at spells that should have gone off. But I was getting so many spells off this turn because I was rolling so many 1s to cast, but never 3, just like 2 or 1s or stuff like that. It wasn't great. So anyway, they're out in the open now. So now my Blade Dancer are out in the open, but I still think the plan works. I can still charge them in. I can still beat that Citadel Guard unit, even if there's only like 4 or 5 that go in, because I overcome their parry. I've got a Distracting Spear. I can do magic. I'm still very confident. Right. And his Kadim and his Citadel Guard fail their maximised leadership check, so I'm up by 2 points on the objective. Tick VG James. He then moves forward. He lines up everything to look at the Blade Dancers. So yeah, that's pretty standard. Yeah, so that's what's, and he's pushed his mortals up as per, supported by the Kadim Titan bottom, to have a go at my force that maximize leadership checks from the droids. But otherwise, his focus is on the Blade Dancers. So he gets out his dice for magic. It's a reasonable one, and he rolls 4 dice at Pyroclastic Flow. And this is one I'm like, cool. You can have your next. You got 1 more spell, or 2 more spells because he had like 8. I was like, okay, cool. This is where my 6 dice line up. He had 15. He cast it on 15 with 4 dice. I was like, it's not that bad. So 15 on 6 dice, I need an average of 3. Which, if you go 3-2, 3-2, so should be 3 3s are 9, and 3 4s are 3 2s are 6. So on average, with 6 dice, I should stop this, even on the low end. No, I don't. And this is what's worse. So he kills 4, and then he does another one on which I didn't catch on the attribute. And oh no, sorry, hang on. So he only kills 4 after this, but that's only because I rolled 3 6s. So I was pretty happy with that. I was like that. But then the attribute went off, so he killed another one. And he's still got 4 dice, so he managed to get Skinning Lash off on my dragon, killed a few wounds off that, and then does a fireball into these guys and takes a few more off. And then the shooting just unloads. I mean, he's got a blunderbuss unit of 20 plus a Citadel Guard. I've lost the unit. I can't roll a single 6 to keep them alive. I just needed 1, and I probably would have backed off and kept them alive. But I've just got the BSB left, so I realised my plan for the game. This is I think culmination point. This is my culmination point, and I realise at this moment that it's now an uphill struggle, because the odds are that he can push his immortals forward and take my objective, or at least draw it. So that's my primary plan. Is right. How do I not lose the objective? I can't lose. I must delay him as long as possible so I don't lose the objective. I can at least draw. So that's one. And the next one is, how do I hold him up now without the key blocking force? Because I don't want those shooting to come down me. It's a narrow deployment. I really can't run. I can't put my drives in. They'll get murdered by these one of these blocks, let alone three. My avatar can't go near a few things, so I'm really like, what do I do? So, and then he does a drone there, and you can see, and sorry, Skinning Lash does 3 wounds to the dragon there, which I've run out of dice. So yeah, I was like, okay, 3 wounds, I can heal them back. I wasn't really too bothered about the blade dancers was painful, because also now I can't. Yeah, it's and he shoots another wild huntsman off as well, but again, meh. So what do I do? My first thing I do is I realise I've got to sacrifice my BSB. Now, this is either a good move or a bad move. I don't know. So I think if I move back, one, I think he gets shot off anyway because they've got movement and fire, and I think that. But by doing this, I had him in the flank. I'm in the flank here. I think I win at least one combat, which means he's got to kill me in his turn. And maybe they can hold him up another one. It just delays him in the centre that little bit more. And then also what I've done is I've moved the avatar around here. So my thought is he's going to have to move forward. So I positioned it so that he's got to move forward. And if he wants to charge and engages them, but he can't, he can only get 2 points. Sorry, he can move forward, but he can only get 2 options here. It's the best I can do. I should have probably moved the avatar back here to give him that one option, but I thought he could move onto the hill, and then I'm in no better position because I wanted to be here to threaten the centre here. I wanted to force him to do something with this Kadim because I thought with magic actually I can grind down Kadim. Yeah, the magic comes, I can. The other mistake I made was this, where I pushed them back down here when actually I should have just, with his, this is the other one, with his unit here moving this way, I should have just kept moving them back up into that corner. But I thought I wanted to make some space for the Wild Huntsman, but I was wrong. That was a mistake. Otherwise, these droids are moving into the corner, and that's it. Again, all the shooting is moved around, so Pathfinders to try and get some more shots at the Kadim and get them off with the dragon, and then the alternate just shoot some more. Yeah, that's pretty much it. But so I thought the plan there was good. So I'm using the Avatar and the BSB to hold his army up a bit so that I cannot lose the objective. That's the main aim at the moment now. And then the Dryads are there in secondary because I'm happy that I'm going to have to sacrifice the Dryads actually to keep him away from the rest of my army for that little bit longer and maybe just grind him down a little bit. And then I'm looking at points. I really don't have a plan for that. But it was going to be an uphill struggle. Next one, so in terms of the combat, he puts no wounds on me. I choose +1 attack, and then I get so I get the no, he puts 1 wound on me. So I get distracting off, and I kill a few of him. He kills a few of me. I actually win the combat because of combat res, but he obviously passes his rerollable leadership check and faces turned me. So yeah, and he changes ranks as well. So this is how it's done. So he's moved forward his immortals, and now I'm going to have the Dryads and the Avatar rolling to check. But hopefully between the leadership 9, I can make this work. Otherwise, he's moved his blunderbuss unit up, and this is mainly to use magic on. This is mainly to start picking off the rest of my army. So start using his pyro on my pathfinders, and also start pushing my dragon and start pushing me back into that top corner and start getting some victory points, and also just taking more of my army off. You also notice he's been quite janky with his Kadim because I'm starting to pick a few more wounds off. He's got 3 wounds now, so I'm sort of in that mode where I'm like, right, 1 Huntsman lucky charge, and I can take that thing off, and that's a reasonable amount of points. It's nearly 500 points, so I'm pretty happy with that. So he's hidden them quite well, and even if I charge now, I can't take them off as well, so I'm pretty like bugger. Yeah, so there's that. In terms of shooting or pyro, I have to let some stuff off, and he kills 8 of the Pathfinders. And then in combat, he gets me down to 1 wound, and we stick it out. It's a draw. So I was like, yeah, brilliant.
Well done, BSB, actually. He's kept the Citadel Guard back there, killed enough of them, and he stopped him, I think, being able to push with another unit back into my soft underbelly, where I really can't do anything about it, because I've got the Dryads too far away, and the Wild Huntsman, I think, can get shot off on the way in. So the BSB has actually done really well, and now he's going to have to kill me in my turn, probably, unless I can get some magic off. If I get some magic off, brilliant, because I did choose 3+ Aegis on this one. So if I can get some magic off, we're in a good spot. and then I can sit there and hopefully get distracting and other stuff. Maybe make him a really, really low defensive skill and stuff like that. So we'll see. We go into my turn. You see me still backing off. My scoring is now. You can see my scoring is now heading into this corner. But obviously, if I put them in that corner, then he'd have had to make a choice between coming into the centre. I've got my Heath Hunters. I'm starting to think that I'm going to have to block them turn 5 and keep them here. And what I've done is I've moved the Dryads up as far as possible so that he gets to charge them. He's too far from there. He'll turn 5 even with an overrun, etc. So basically, I keep them far away from the rest of my army because I've passed both my maximised leadership check with the Dryads and the Avatar. So I'm like, yes, it's 2 up. So at this point, I was starting believing I could win the objective and maybe squeeze out like an 11-9 or something like that. Or maybe if I got lucky, I could win just by off draw or fluke. Because he's not that far off. He's too far away. He's only got 2 more turns. So maybe I could do this. Anyway, I charged the Avatar into that. I did think about moving round here. I did think about being sneaky and just like passing a Mars check, coming here, shooting them, maybe making them panic, take another round of shooting and stuff, and then charging into his belly here and just causing absolute mayhem. But that would also risk having another thing here, which I really don't want. But also I thought with magic, because I can cast healing spells and stuff like that from here, I could take a Kadim Titan. I can outgrind it, I think. I've got strength 7, he's only strength 6. Yeah, with a reroll, but I think I do it. Anyway, in terms of combat, yeah, I don't get, and this is it, I don't get any magic off. None. Everything fails. Again, rolling lots of ones. Yeah, and then, yeah, it didn't work. And then I was like, got a bit of a problem here. Not panic stations yet, but he dies, fully expecting that. This guy only gets 1 wound and does 2 wounds to the Titan. So actually, he's on 5 instead of 7 now, and I'm on 4. He gets to go, and then I can heal in my turn. So I'm like, I've got 2 healing spells. So even if he does 2 or 3 wounds, I could still get back up to 2, maybe 3, and I can minimize his attack the next time, and he can be hitting me on 5. So again, not the end of the world, doable. Charges here. He charges both his Immortals and Citadel Guard into Dryads. So again, I was like, okay, that's not bad actually. They're fixed now on the Dryads. I thought the Immortals were going to go through them anyway and make them run, but all that. So again, no problem at all. Otherwise, he moves his blunderbuss forward, unit forward, and his Kadim as well, because he really wanted to push as well and start take off another unit of Pathfinders there. He does. So in my last phase, yeah, he kills one of the Pathfinders. Oh, no, sorry, hang on. Because he put them down to 2. Nah. So in essence, he kills one of the Pathfinders, or he kills them down to 1, and they stick on their panic check, which means he's got to spend another turn killing them. I was like, yes, good. This is good. And then he kills another Wild Huntsman off. But again, I'm like, okay, fine, cool. I'm slowly picking away at you. You're not in range of charging me. I can keep healing this unit. So again, I'm not really that bothered. This combat here, he absolutely rinses me. I panic and run, and I get taken out. I get killed by the Citadel Guard. So here's my plan. On to my turn. I sacrifice one of my Heath Hunters and they come forward here. My plan is, I was like, yeah, I can angle this way. You can run into there. You can run a bit. You won't get that far, and then you do that. So at this point, Sam went, you know the Immortals, so they're just naturally stubborn with the BSB. And I was like, what does that mean? He went, I can reform in a really, really big long line and reach pretty much anywhere. So your 2 units in your corner or your Heath Hunters, you will be taking leadership checks. I went, cock. Oh, so there was a limitation. At that point, I realised I should have had the Heath Riders in the other corner, but there's nothing I can really do about it because he could probably move 10 or reform 10 and then just go. And I was like, oh, bugger. So I was in a bit of a problem there. So I didn't really know how to stop that, if I was really honest. But so, yeah. so that was a problem.
Otherwise, I move everything out because my plan is to go after these. There are quite some points here. I think there's a high chance that I draw the objective at best now because of what he's going to do. I know he's going to force a check here, probably somewhere here, especially if I overrun there. There's every chance I'm going to have 3 units to do that, so I could lose, but I more importantly, I'm likely to draw. So, okay, cool. So what I want to do is whittle these down around. So even if I don't kill them this turn, I kill them next turn. So I throw everything at them, the kitchen sink, everything. Apart from my magic. My aim with magic is to support the Tree Father. And again, nothing goes off. Absolutely nothing. And from his turn, I was down on 1 wound, and that was a spoiler. I was on 1 wound, and he does 1 wound. So I let him, we're attacking at the same time, so I let him go first, and he kills him. And then I'm going next. I thought, okay, I needed to get 3 wounds. He was on 4 wounds, so he had 3 left. I needed to do 3 wounds just to make it equal and get some points back. So I was going to lose this exchange in points, but I wanted to kill the Titan just at least. And I do 2 wounds. So I get 1 wound. No, sorry, I get 1 wound through. So I had loads of wounds. He rolled 5 ups like a demon, so I didn't even get half points for the Kadim as well, which was upsetting. No, it's fine. Sam actually thought so. Like I thought with magic, I would win this grind. Sam thought the other way around, actually, ironically, and turns out he was right. Um, well, no, I didn't get any magic off on this combat to influence it at all. In a Kadim versus Avatar, yes, I think because of the flaming, he wins the grind, and he's got more hit points in the same 5 pages, and it depends how you roll. But I think with magic, if I got 2 heals off, I'd have had 2 wounds, and then next turn, I think I kill him. I have a chance of killing him, or even if I manage to get in 20 roots off and suddenly he's hitting me on 5s, that would have made a massive difference as well. So I know I stand by what I said. I think in a grind, an Avatar with Druidism Master support kills a Titan. But if you don't get any spells off, that's what happens. Your Avatar dies. So, whoops. So not only have I lost my general now, but I've lost 200 points. In combat, he charges my Heath Hunters. I flee. I then realise he's fleeing from my big unit, so I haven't actually angled correctly, and now he's. So actually, what I should have done, I've thought about this, is I should have put a big long line there. Oh no, he could have just reformed anyway. But then I could have ran. Oh, there was probably some janky way I could have done that, but either way, what happens here is he overruns. He gets to there. Sorry, no, I flee, so he can't reform. No, I don't know. He charges, he overruns. They do that. No, he flees, he catches them. Yeah, he flees and catches them. So I was hoping he would flee, wouldn't go very far and therefore things. But unfortunately, he's got 3 units that here. So these Heath Hunters, I probably should have done that better and had them further away. So I probably should have had them up there. So at least it's only 2, but he had 2, and so I could have drawn it. And then but otherwise you can see on the Citadel Guard, I've thrown the kitchen sink at them. There's quite not that many left, so he starts running them away in hope, and then he fixes his unit there. So his aim is going to be kill my Pathfinders, and then see if he can kill the dragon. He kills the Pathfinders. There was nothing I could do about that. He's got enough pyro spells, enough shooting. There was no way that I was surviving. He then brings that down to 1. And then it's my turn. But that's pretty good. I've got 2 peeling spells, so I know what I'm going to be doing. So spoiler alert. So in my magic phase, I managed to get at least a Wild Huntsman back. That's all I needed. So got a Wild Huntsman back. I throw Master of Earth at the Titan Mortar, and I win. I got it. I rolled really well again, and he didn't roll as well. So we had 1 wound left on this thing, and I shot off this thing. So I got the points for that and half points for the Titan Mortar, which I was really happy with. So it's not an is. And importantly, I only failed 2 out of the 3 maximized tests, so I don't lose the objective, which means at the end of the game, and there's a lovely Sam himself, as we're just counting up as end of picture. It's pretty reasonably bloody game, mainly for me, but I've only killed one of his unit and nearly as tight a mortar and nearly as kid him, but I don't get any points with the kid him. But otherwise, yeah, most of my army's gone apart from my dragon, unit of 10 pathfinders, a unit of heath hunters, and the wild huntsman. So which I've got 2 models left, but that means it's not 25%. So that's good. So that's the score. So he got 2,500 points because he got all of them, and I got 811, which means the difference, which equals to a 15-5. But importantly, we've drawn the objective. So I think going from his turn 4 onwards, where he pretty much had free reign to go and get the objective, I'm pretty happy with that actually, that I've managed to get the draw. I think if I'd kept at least the blade guns, if I hadn't let that pyro flow, I think that would be closer to a 10-10. I think he could have killed some stuff anyway, but I think that would have been closer to a 10-10 and I had a chance to win that. But overall, I must admit, a really, really fun game. I really enjoyed this one with Sam actually. It was a really nice opponent. And I don't know how he didn't as well. I know he did okay, I think. But yeah, it was it's actually a really fun list to play against. I think it's a super list that he had. Um, but I'm very happy with actually how it went overall. So from many reasons, apart from my magic, that was annoying, and that's a bit of a theme this weekend. Spoiler alert. So lessons. When from my last panel, take more pictures and more photos of better moons. I think I've done that. Write in if you think. Please write in if you think I do better. Um, Otherwise, the plan worked really well. I thought keep them at range and move back and try and get the objective points. So yeah, I think it was good. Druidism was meh. Maybe it's because I didn't take Stone Skin, but I just thought Stone Skin, I get into combat, and my problem is actually getting to combat. So that's where entwining roots, forest embrace, just to give that soft cover and other stuff, I thought was more useful. Yeah, we'll see. And then plans for Dryads, lack of mobility for objective. I think that's one of the big ones that you need to remember with Dryads, especially if you haven't got Oaken thrown up. If only they give us musician. No, it's okay. Yeah, so I think that was bad play from me that I put my 2 slowest or least lateral movements opposite the objective, and pretty much that's probably my mistake because that if I'd had them on the other side, I'd have only had 1 or 2 leadership checks, and Drives was one that's failed. So I think I could have won the objective with that one and had a close game. But overall, yeah, really good. So 5 points, not a bad start against R4 actually, against an opponent who's very much better than I am. And also, I thought it was a hard matchup, especially with the objective. With the deployment, refuse flanks. I think was very much in his favour on that, just to box me back into that corner. But overall, very happy with how I played. Yeah, and onwards and upwards. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. Please, if you're watching, please subscribe, and I'll be bringing you more battle reports shortly. Thank you. Have a good weekend.